This is a box of Ozempic, the brand name medication that turned a specific class of metabolic drugs into a multi-billion-dollar compounding gold rush. This document represents the FDA drug shortages list. Under federal law, compounding pharmacies were allowed to create their own versions of these patented drugs, only because the brand name versions were officially unavailable to the public. That loophole is now closing. The FDA recently asserted that the shortage is resolved, and pharmaceutical companies have begun issuing cease and desist letters to stop pharmacies from producing these generic alternatives. The immediate result is a wave of panic across the industry, as clinics and patients realize the legal pathway for compounded GLP-1s has vanished overnight. As the door on weight loss generics was shutting, a different regulatory door was suddenly pushed open in late February 2026. This is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Secretary of Health and Human Services. During a recent appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience, he signaled a major shift in policy, promising to end what he called the FDA's war on peptides. Kennedy's announcement focused on a plan to grant near-immediate legal access to a group of wellness and recovery peptides that had previously been restricted. This shift creates a bridge between two separate regulatory worlds, linking the future of the weight loss industry to these newly accessible recovery compounds, just as the primary GLP-1 loophole is dismantled. This is a compounding laboratory. In this setting, licensed pharmacists mix raw ingredients to create medications tailored for individual patients, a practice that is distinct from large-scale commercial manufacturing. This FDA framework details Sections 503A and 503B, which allow compounded drugs to bypass standard new drug approval if they meet specific criteria. In 2023, the FDA used this to crack down, moving 17 wellness peptides to the restrictive Category 2 list. Landing in Category 2 is an effective ban. The FDA identifies these substances as having significant safety risks or a lack of data, making them illegal for pharmacies to compound for human use. This restriction created a massive gray market, where consumers bypassed pharmacies entirely to buy unverified research chemicals from unregulated online vendors. The 2026 proposal shifts approximately 14 peptides out of the prohibited red zone and back into a status where they can be legally dispensed. This moves them into Category 1, a list of bulk substances that licensed pharmacies are permitted to mix for patients who have a valid physician's prescription. Secretary Kennedy's goal is to undercut the shadowy gray market by allowing ethical suppliers to provide these compounds in a regulated medical setting. This decision accepts a specific risk. These peptides are being legalized for compounding even though they still lack the large-scale, placebo-controlled clinical trials required for full pharmaceutical approval. It is a calculated trade-off by the administration, prioritizing a regulated, physician-supervised marketplace over a restrictive model that failed to stop unmonitored consumer experimentation. Because weight loss drugs like semaglutide are technically peptides, many clinics have incorrectly marketed them as if they fall under these new Category 1 rules. This diagram shows the legal distinction. On the left, brand name GLP-1s are patented drugs, compounded only during a shortage. On the right, peptides like BPC 157 are unapproved raw ingredients governed by the Category 1 bulk substances list. Once the official shortage is over, pharmacies must stop making copies of those patented drugs on the left, regardless of what is happening with the peptide rules on the right. Category 1 is not a loophole for making generic Ozempic, but it does provide clinics with a new legal toolset to use alongside those medications. This animation shows a major side effect of rapid weight loss drugs. As fat cells shrink, the body often breaks down skeletal muscle fibers simultaneously. The return of Category 1 wellness peptides allow clinicians to address this issue directly, using recovery-focused compounds to help patients preserve their lean muscle mass. This is the GLP-1 2.0 protocol. Clinics are moving toward prescribing branded, commercially available weight loss drugs, while pairing them with legally compounded Category 1 peptides to mitigate muscle loss and side effects. This model requires intense physician oversight, placing the responsibility on providers to verify that pharmacies are testing their active pharmaceutical ingredients, the raw chemicals used to produce the final medication. The era of mass-producing unapproved copies of patented drugs is closing. It is making way for a clinical model centered on using these newly legalized recovery peptides to manage the physical impacts of rapid weight loss.